Have you ever turned up to a great location just as the light and conditions are about to hit that fleeting moment of perfection? The excitement courses through your veins and you can already imagine how great your finished image is going to look. So you grab your camera, look around for a shot that will do these awesome conditions justice, the panic sets in and you can't find a composition. It used to happen to me all the time until I figured out a simple trick to quickly find a solid composition fast in just about any location. So in this video I'm going to show you what it is so that you can relieve that pressure of finding a great composition when it's crunch time. Because there's something inside all of us that no matter how long we've been taking photos is kind of like this instinct that urges us to make an epic scene feel as big as it does to us at that moment in time. It's kind of like an automatic reaction to just open the lens as wide as it will go and capture everything. The thing is, if you want to capture a boring photo that shows everything and nothing all at once, then that's how you do it. But if you do what I'm showing you in this video, then it will help you quickly find a strong composition within that wider scene. Now, of course, there is no one-size-fits-all rule in photography, and there are times when you won't physically be able to use this tip, but I've got you covered for those situations too, and I'll show you that next. But first, here's a set of images that all follow the first rule that I'm sharing. So here's a nice stick in the foreground with all the nice light on the trees in the background. Much nicer than this empty looking version of the same scene. Here we have some large rocks in the background with a smaller boulder in the foreground to anchor the composition. And compare that to this version of the same scene where the exposure was too long to make the foreground wave interesting enough, which is what I was trying to do. And this one here where the urge to go wide to get all the amazing sunrise light in the frame at once overcame me and created this bland, empty shot compared to this version where I stopped and thought purposefully about this one thing. So what is it? It's going to sound simple and obvious when I say it, but there is nuance to it and it's possible to mess it up. But here it is. Put something in the foreground and something in the background. Make this your new mantra when trying to find a composition under pressure and you'll find it works wonders. You still do need to place these somethings correctly within the frame to prevent your composition looking unbalanced and kind of a bit snapshotish, but before we get on to how to fix that, I know some of you watching will already be thinking, what if there's nothing interesting in the foreground? And my first answer to that question would be to ask you, are you really sure? Remembering that even small objects and patterns can become a dominant point of interest when you're shooting wide angle and getting up really close. But sometimes you really don't have anything of interest in a foreground, so that's when you can use tip number 2 to find a great composition quickly instead. Here's a wide view of a nice scene that I was photographing once. The foreground-background rule wasn't working out and the shot was just really messy. And here's the shot that I found when I followed tip number 2. A much cleaner shot with a stronger, less distracted composition. And how about this one here where the fog was lifting over the mountains, but I was on a lookout overlooking a massive gorge, so there literally was no physical foreground to include. So I used tip number 2 and found this composition that isolates and focuses on one of the most interesting parts of this wider scene. And this one here where I sacrificed capturing the best of the amazing colourful clouds as the sun rose over the sea to make this far stronger and more visually appealing composition of a lifeguard tower, which still made great use of the colours in the sky. So the thing that I had in mind for all 3 of these shots was to pick one single thing within the scene and take a portrait photo of it. There's still one more piece of the puzzle to slot into place once you've decided what to include in the foreground and background, or as your single portrait-like subject. So watch this next video and I'll show you a useful trick for positioning the key subjects to prevent your photos looking unbalanced and amateurish.